All right, welcome to another episode of Beginning Plant-Based with Tavey. On today's episode, I will be showing you how to make a soup. The soup today will be cream of broccoli. Now, this has quickly become one of my favorite go-to soups that I like to eat from time to time. It's quick, easy to put together, takes no time to make or what have you. There's only like 7 ingredients in this soup. It's a good soup. It's loaded with fiber. It's a good cancer fighting soup, and it doesn't use any dairy. It's dairy free, and it's one of my favorites. It has quickly become one of my favorites. Now, also, I want to state that if you're slowly switching to plant-based, that in the beginning, a lot of the food is probably going to taste like it has no seasoning or it tastes bland. That's normal. And the reasoning behind that is if you've been used to eating processed foods all this time, well, you're used to all the sodium that's loaded in the food, processed food, the sugar and artificial flavoring. So in the beginning, yes, it's gonna taste like, oh, it's bland. It don't have any seasoning, any salt. No, that's normal. It normally takes your palate to change over from eating processed food to eating naturally. It normally takes about 14 to 21 days. So the longer you stick with it, you will gradually notice that you will begin to taste the natural flavors of foods and seasonings. As you notice, I don't use any salt. I haven't used any salt or oil so far in everything I've showed you. But if you're trying some of the recipes and it seems like it don't have any seasoning or it's bland, that's normal. That just you've been used to eating processed foods that's loaded with sodium and sugar and artificial flavor. Just give it time, and as time go on, you will start to taste the natural flavors of food as it should be. Secondly, I want to let everyone know I'm not perfect at this. I'm going on 2 years. It'll be 2 years in August. I would say I'm probably 90% plant-based, meaning from time to time I eat probably some sweets that I shouldn't eat or what have you. I mean, I still haven't been eating meat or dairy. Just with me, my weakness is sweets. I do do good for a little while, and then sometimes, hey, I'm human. I backslide. Also, I want to let folks know, I do plant-based, but I also do what is called intermittent fasting. And somebody probably saying, what is intermittent fasting? Basically, intermittent fasting is where in the evening time or nighttime, you cut off your eating at a specific time and you don't eat again to that same time the next day. Generally, what I do, a couple periods through the year, a couple weeks through the year, off and on what I do. Like I might cut off my eating at 8 o'clock at night. I won't eat again until 1 o'clock the next day, which would be, if I'm not mistaken, that's 12, what is that? 16 hours, 17 hours, something like that. So when I start back eating at 1, now I got a window from 1 o'clock in the afternoon to 8 o'clock that evening to eat. Now during that feeding period, it don't mean I'm just pigging out. I'm still eating plant-based, my 1 or 2 meals that I prepare in that window. So I start back eating at 1 o'clock, then I cut it off at 8 o'clock. Then I'm basically fasting from 8 o'clock that night to 1 p.m. the next day. And the reason for this, the longer you go without food allows your body to heal itself and repair itself naturally. That's the reasoning for intermittent fasting. Also this year, this was the first year I did a 7-day water fast where I drank nothing but water only. I did better than I thought. That was a good experience, to me it was, but I just thought some of y'all should know that. Although I'm eating plant-based, I also, throughout the year, I do intermittent fasting too along with it to help me with the plant-based eating. Now, with that said, let's get to it. Let me show you how to put this soup together. So I will be back shortly. Okay, basically I'm picking up a turnip. That's my turnip. I have 4 turnips. The recipe calls for 4 turnips. I have an onion, 2 things of vegetable broth, garlic, cashews, a bag of kale, a bag of broccoli floret. I have 2 bags of black broccoli floret. Now, that's my peeler. I'm getting ready to peel my turnips. Basically, I have washed them, kind of rinsed it pretty good. Now I'm fixing to trim them, peel them with the peeler there. Then once I peel them, I'm fixing to chop them up. I'm gonna chop them up in the food processor. Very simple recipe. Very simple. But I just wanted to show you what a turnip look like. Somebody might not know what a turnip look like. Kind of purple and white looking. Kind of has a spicy taste to it. Often overlooked vegetable. But here I'm just showing you that you do have to peel them to use a peeler. Now if you don't have a peeler, I guess you have to use a knife or something, but a peeler don't cost them, should be no more than $1 and some change, under $2 I would think. But that's basically all I'm doing, peeling my turnips right now. That's probably the only hardest prep to this, peeling the turnips. That's about it though. That's all I'm doing right now. Peeling the turnips. Just giving you a visual of me peeling the turnips. Now that I have peeled my turnips and I have chopped up my 1 onion, first I'm going to chop up my onion in the food processor. I'm using the food processor to speed it up. I don't feel like doing any hand chopping by, using the knife, so I'm just going to use my food processor. If you don't have a food processor, you can use a chopper. If you don't have a chopper, you just going to have to use a knife, but I have a food processor. So I'm using the food processor to save some time, kind of late today. Once you have your onion chopped, then I'm gonna put that in my bowl and then I'm gonna chop my turnips up. And then after that, that's pretty much it for the prep that we will have to do to get our soup ready. So right now, I'm dumping the chopped onion into my bowl. Do some pre-prep before we actually get to sauteing everything. Very easy soup to put together. Like I said, this is the only thing, chopping your onion and your turnips. Okay, right now we have a bowl of turnips that I peeled and kind of cut into pieces. Now I'm putting those into the food processor to make it easier on myself. Like I said, if you don't have a food processor, you can use a grater to do it. If you don't have a grater, you use a knife, but I would say if you're gonna be doing a lot of plant-based cooking, invest in you a good food processor, blender, and a grater. But all I'm doing right now is chopping the turnips up that goes in our soup and what have you. And that's about it. Once I chop those up, we're gonna get our pot, saute our onions and garlic, and get to put it together. But right here, that's all I'm doing, basically just chopping the turnips up right here. And that's really it. Okay, now we're getting ready to saute our vegetables. Cut my eye on to medium heat. Now I'm going to use I'm going to use 3 tablespoons of water. 3 tablespoons of water. I'm not using any oil or anything. I'm going to saute them with water. You can do water, saute your vegetables the same as oil. It's just you're not getting out of the oil. It's just water. So right now, I'm finna saute the onion and the garlic. Once my onion is soft, after a couple minutes, then we will add everything else into the pot, bring it to a boil, then let it simmer about 20 to 25 minutes. Then after that, we're gonna take half of our soup and put it in a blender, blend it, then put it back in the pot, and there you have it. You have your cream of broccoli. But right now, I'm getting my onion and garlic, getting ready to saute it. Once we saute it, it's just a matter of putting it together. Now, while we wait for that for the onions to get soft and the garlic, a couple minutes, we're gonna stir everything up. It should take no more than about 3 to 4 minutes once the pot get hot enough. 3 to 4 minutes. Saute your onion, just enough to soften them up. All right, we got our onion and garlic soft, sauteed. Now we're gonna add our broth. The recipe calls for 5 cups of broth. So I'm using 1 carton, 32-ounce carton, and then 8 ounces of broth from the second carton. That'll give us our 5 cups of broth, vegetable broth. Once we add our broth, then we're gonna put our turnips in. Everybody in the pot. All right, we're dumping our turnips in. Make sure I get everything out the bowl. Once we put our turnips in, now we're gonna add our kale. A bag of frozen kale. Now the recipe calls for 1 bunch of kale, but what I do to make it quicker, I just go get a bag of frozen kale where I don't have to worry about cleaning and washing it. So I got 1 bag of Simple Truth kale. Once you put the kale in, now you're gonna add your broccoli. I normally do about 3 bags of broccoli, but today I'm doing 2 because the recipe
calls for, I want to say 2 heads of broccoli. And I don't want to do all that cutting and chopping, so I just do the frozen broccoli florets. Make it quick and easy. So you can do 2 to 3 bags of frozen broccoli if you don't want to do the broccoli heads. And once you get everything in the pot, we're gonna kind of mix everything together, and we're gonna bring that to a boil. Once it starts boiling, we're gonna take it down to a simmer. Let it simmer about 25 minutes till the vegetables are soft. Once they are soft, like I said, we're gonna take half of that and we're gonna put it in our blender and then return that to the pot. And that's your soup. Right now I'm just kind of mixing everything up good, and then we're gonna bring that to a boil. So I'm gonna turn my heat up to high. Once it starts boiling, then we're gonna take it down to a simmer for 25 minutes. And that's all to it. All right, now our soup has simmered for 25 minutes. Now I'm gonna take half of it. I'm gonna put about half of it in this pot so I can transfer it to my blender and blend it up. If you don't have a blender, put it in your food processor. If you don't have neither one of those, I don't know what to tell you. But to do this recipe, you do, unless you got a hand blender. Now, if you got a hand blender, that's perfect. But you do need a blender or something to blend half of it up, because you're gonna transfer it back to the pot. So right now I'm just taking about half of the sauteed vegetables out. And then I'm gonna transfer most of that to my blender and blend it up. That look like about half. That's about half. A little more. Put one more spoon. Okay, I guess I still want some more. I'm doing this ain't quite right. But basically you want to take half, about half of it out of your pot to blend. Then we're going to transfer the little bit we took out of the pot into our blender. As much as you can, not to overfill it. And then this is where your cashews come in. You're going to blend up a half cup of cashews. So put a half cup, put about half the cup in the first batch of the soup that I'm getting ready to blend. This is what make it creamy. Cashews. Once we do that, we're gonna put our top. Well, we're gonna add a little more. We're gonna add a little more to it. All right, we're gonna add a little more. Overfill it, so add one more spoon. That should be good. Yeah. Then put our top on. Now we're just gonna blend it up in our blender till it get creamy. And we let that go through the cycle, and once it's done, I pour it back into the pot. And then I blend the last little batch that I had left in that pot there. And then put that back in there, and that's what's making it. Okay, this is the finished product. This is what it would look like once it's done. And that's all to it. All right, this concludes my video today. Cream of broccoli. See how quick and easy that is? You got you a nice hearty soup. That's a good meal. That's a good lunch for you. I will have this recipe at the end of the video. Feel free to ask me any questions or comments, anything. I do my best to respond to you. And like I always say, peace. Have a blessed day.